Hi, good evening, everybody. As you know, my name is Miss Jill Louise Starr. A few people that were reading or watching my George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin video sent me some emails. Some of them weren't too nice, and said, "Well, who the hell are you? What do you know about genocide? This and that." So, that's a fair question. Who am I? Well, my name is Jill Louise Starr. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am Russian. All of my family are Russian immigrants to the United States of America, except my one grandfather on my mother's side was from Bucharest, Romania. I studied international law, political science in graduate school for about 10 or 11 years. I graduated with a BA in Sociology and Criminology at William Patterson University in 1997. I went on to study 2 years at the New School of Social Research in New York City. From there, I studied a few semesters at Montclair State University in New Jersey. From there, I studied 2 more semesters at Fairleigh Dickinson University in Teaneck, Hackensack in political science and historical studies. I studied substantive international criminal law and preventing international war crimes at NYU Continuing Division of Adult Continuing Division of Education with former Nuremberg prosecutor Benjamin Perez, who was the prosecutor for the United States of the Nazi trials after World War II. And I think one of the youngest United Nations General Assembly presidents, Mr. Goran Stanov, who is from, I believe, he's from a Bulgarian diplomat, taught my substantive international law class. And I studied a couple other places here and there. Who am I? Well, I'm Jill. Traveling extensively throughout Southeast Asia, and at a very early age, I acquired a greater cosmopolitan understanding regarding relationships existing between culture, politics, economics, and ideology than most other people might. My father worked for USAID, United States Aid for International Development, and IBER, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, before it became the IMF, and also Charles T. Main, the company that Mr. John Perkins wrote his book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, when he worked for them also. It was they do a lot of governmental CIA, NSA contracts. Anyway, since I traveled with my father around the world, over Vietnam in 1970, before there weren't any commercial airlines that didn't legally fly over Vietnam. You needed special military clearance to do so. I remember flying over Vietnam in 1970, and my father saying to me, I was about 7, look down, we're flying over Vietnam now, Jill. We took a ferry illegally to China from Taiwan with my parents around 1971. Some other things, I went around on a bat-winged boat, if you know what that is, in China, in the Bering Strait. And I learned about the aforementioned culture, politics, and the interpersonal relationships and interdiplomatic relationships, which often produce the primary contentions existing within the international relations purview presently today and throughout history. I like to study that. Particularly, I'm interested in diplomatic relations between the United States of America and other non-democratic and non-liberal governed states such as the former Yugoslavia, North Korea, Saudi Arabia. My past travels included Thailand, Hong Kong, Indonesia, China, Taiwan, Japan, Malaysia, Serbia, and Montenegro, which these travels have given me many times a broader comprehensions insofar as in the international relations, politics, human rights, and whereby diplomacy definitely necessitates enhancing between liberal democratic states, such as the United States of America, and those states existing in the European Union and other non-liberal and or non-democratic governed states such as the former Yugoslavia, North Korea, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, China, and the Middle East. My own ideological viewpoint strongly stress similarities we all share as human beings in both physiological and psychological needs in lieu of centering primarily upon only our ideological and ethic differences. I'm also cognizant that some political regimes abuse for private personal profit religion, ethnicity, money, power, and nationalism as a means to oppress their own citizenry, torture them, and commit genocides, certainly as many recently have, and certainly North Korea. This in turn negatively affects the rest of the world, and I'm convinced for any government to engage in gross human rights violations and to torture its own citizenry is as great a tragedy in human rights as it is a mistake for the country itself, because it is vital for any state's survival for it to maintain a healthy dialectical relationship between those ruling and those who rule over them, the citizens themselves and the people and the masses. This relationship ought to be premised upon mutual trust and stability between those who rule and those they rule over. When politicians, blinded by Hobsonian vainglory, power, and greed, cause this dialectic relationship to fail, wars, revolutions, and conflicts ensue, such as in the former breakup of Yugoslavia, which was once compromised of the kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, later resulting in genocide as well as in the same manner the Americans committed genocide in Vietnam and many other places their soldiers have worked. I also strongly believe the United States of America must subject itself to the same high-minded human rights and legal standards it demands the rest of the world abide by, such as, again, the 1999 Kosovo crisis, where the United States of America, Bill Clinton, who himself said that he would not declare war when he was a 22-year-old man, when he wrote his dodge the Vietnam draft letter, unless it was declared by an act of Congress, broke the War Powers Act, which was enacted by Congress after Vietnam, so that no United States president ever again would bomb or act aggressively against a country such as Vietnam or Serbia and Montenegro without first having a declaration of war, as it did in the U.S. Constitution, be declared by our Congress. Bill Clinton was a failure in that respect. And then many others. When politicians, blinded by Hobsonian vainglory, power, and greed, cause this healthy dialectic between those who rule and those they who rule over to fail, wars, revolutions, and conflicts and genocide ensue, such as from Yugoslavia, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Rwanda. I strongly believe the United States of America, I said that already, must abide by the same human rights and high-minded moral provisions they want the rest of the world to adhere to. The United States and the European Union must adhere to themselves. There's no excuse for calling human life collateral damage, Tony Blair. Anything less is totally hypocritical, Mr. Blair and Wesley Clark, and seriously undermines world peace and perpetual human survival for all in diplomacy. The United States needs better understandings of politics, security, and cultures, and the divergent cultures of this world we live in and share in many remote indigenous peoples, to preserve their endangered cultures in accordance with the United Nations human rights instruments. I also possess extremely strong interest in analyzing political geography, cultural and theological social spaces of the former territorial regions of many places, such as Croatia, Yugoslavia, Albania, Bosnia, Kosovo, and the Republic of Srpska. I desire to analyze places where potential conflicts could arise. In the future, I will hopefully hope to eradicate those escalations before they become uncontainable escalations of violence and war. I hope by analyzing our world's past political and historical experiences, we will not repeat them, living in an age where nuclear weapons are bought and sold globally and through tunnels going from Mexico to the United States, as many drug cartels have told me. Many illegal alien Mexicans will, when they go with their coyote or the illegal criminals that take them to the desert into America, they will take parts and things such as uranium and dirty bombs and pieces of equipment to make atomic bombs in the United States and poisons. They would gladly be paid thousands of dollars to bring them into the United States through tunnels and other things from Mexico to Texas. So national and international world security is an additional strong interest of mine. I hope world leaders will begin learning from the world's past experiences that are bequeathed to us by the early untimely demise of the ancient Roman Empire and World War II, where political messiahs such as Hitler have arisen and destroyed hundreds of thousands of Jews, Roma, and Serbs, as well as others such as homosexuals. I personally have witnessed the greatly oppressed living conditions of the men, women, and innocent children residing in less developed countries in the United States, such as Indonesia, where I became friends with beggars and lepers in the streets and got scabies and other diseases doing so. I used to give them money and become friends with them, even when they used to hate me and call me little Dutch girl because I was white in Indonesia. But that's another story I don't have space to go into here. I have personally witnessed those oppressed living conditions, and this has given me experience and even a greater moral commitment to enhancing social justice and economic equity for persons throughout the world, regardless of race, religion, or ethnic creed. All human beings deserve basic human necessities, guaranteeing their survival. Hence, I stand strictly and very strongly against Western-imposed political and economic sanctions placed on poor countries such as Iraq, in which Madeleine Albright, former United States Secretary of State, said killing with the use of sanctions 500,000 Iraqi children, quote, worth it, to get at Saddam Hussein, who was later killed anyway. That Mr. Ben Ferencz, the former U.S. Nuremberg prosecutor, told me in my class of Preventing International War Crimes, using sanctions and killing 500,000 children in Iraq was a war crime in and of itself, Madeleine Albright, which I rather refer to as. It is also of grave importance leaders of the United States of America fully understand ways in which they alienate other states, such as Pakistan, in which Al-Qaeda and Taliban exist, and how they created such monsters in the first place, such as Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, so it doesn't happen again, such as when the Al-Qaeda flag went up over the Benghazi courthouse in Libya after Gaddafi was assassinated. The United States funded and gave Al-Qaeda agents in Libya weapons, and Al-Qaeda later got a hold of them. Another gross mistake that was looked over by the current president, Obama. My personal career objectives include enhancing diplomacy and diplomatic ties and relations between the United States and former Yugoslavia. I also desire to work within the Law Project Center, a non-governmental United Nations accredited organization. Darko Tripinovic, a Serbian diplomat and some friends, started in Serbia and elected me as director in the United States, in the New York City area. I like to advocate for greater human rights and social justice for all people, including myself, who has been greatly injured, beaten up by cops in West Milford Township, New Jersey, and the like, of which I've written about. And I've also been thrown out of 3 schools and have been discriminated against for my disability and my anti-NATO views. Number 1, Seton Hall, the New School for Social Studies and Research in New York, and Feel Ridiculous Dickinson in New Jersey. I can prove it beyond any reasonable doubt, and Hillary Clinton was in bed with the teachers union, and that is why my civil rights case was slipped under the rug at that time, and I can prove it. I have papers and depositions to prove it. Um, these are some, but not all, my future goals and what I'd like to do. I would like a job if someone wants to hire me, and I enjoy working towards future world peace and a lot more. I won't get into here. You can read on my website. I've been affiliated with, in the past, the American Sociological Association, the Superior Court of New Jersey. I have a certificate in mediation resolution, the Serbian Unity Congress. I have letters from the International. I'm a member and was inducted into the International Sociological Honor Society, the International Studies Association, the International Movement Against All Forms of Discrimination and Racism, which my former professor in Eastern Religion, Mr. Rim, founded at the United Nations, and as a Columbia University graduate many years ago. I have his letter to me posted on Picasa, the National Dean's List 3 years in a row, 1997, graduated with National Honors, William Patterson College, 1997, Russian Orthodox Christian singer for 20 years, and that is who I am. So please, don't send me ridiculous emails, and don't post stupid things on my YouTube sites, because yes, as you can see now, I do know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to genocide and war crimes. I also met and was friends with, hung out with, during my stay in Yugoslavia for almost a month, Ratko Mladic, Radovan Karadzic, and Mr. Babic, as well as Goran Hadjic, who read my poem in Montenegro. So I do know what I'm talking about. So don't anyone dare. You can post whatever you want, but if you want to look like an idiot, I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to genocide. Thank you, and good night.